And welcome back, YouTube. It's 11:07 p.m. Monday, September 18th, 2023. And yeah, the only functional camera on this old iPhone right now is the selfie camera. So I've yet to even review any of the videos I've made this way. So I don't even know if they're going to be usable, but I figure it's worth the try. You can stop anytime, Dinger, goddamn. Oh. So, are you done yet? So, as I predicted, my being late wasn't an issue at all. As soon as I got there, I went to the MLS office before I even clocked in, actually, since Rob was there, the main boss. I didn't talk to him about my concerns about my income not being enough to pay my bills and needing to try to flex around available stuff on Wonolo. But I figured, probably that's not the same conversation to have at the same time where I'm trying to apologize for being a little over an hour and a half late. So yeah, that didn't happen. But they were completely cool about the time I came in, and I just told them that I didn't sleep well at night, which is the honest truth, and that I dozed off an hour and a half before work, and my alarm just didn't wake me up, which is the absolute truth. And since the tire incident, their position is they'd rather have me show up late than show up drowsy. So I guess I'm kind of putting that to the test. And today, not a problem. I guess the thing is that they realize that when I'm there, that I'm really dedicated to my job. And anyway, we had a good talk about it. Okay, I'm getting ready to completely waste time right now. I think this is the car return. Rental car return only. I have returned cars here, but it's been a long, long time. Hertz, Thrifty. So, the last few days I've been kind of taking some different sorts of routes through the third floor of the rental car center garage. And I've never really understood how these paths for returning and leaving with cars were laid out, because obviously that's not an area that I travel or walk. I mean, right on the other side of that wall right there is the Hertz maintenance line. So, I mean, yeah, I see people coming around this as they're returning their cars all the time. But I didn't really know what the path was over here. And lately, I've been, that exit right there on the right, that's for Hertz return. And then the signs direct $Thrifty to go around the corner. I think that's what it said. It's not very well lit, and my lighting is terrible. Thrifty garage exit. Wow, there's a pedestrian walkway to the left. Didn't know that existed. Anyway, as I do everything on foot, wow, and I can look up to the left and see the artistic. I actually turn the camera so y'all can see that, hopefully. But yeah, that's the colored glass art installation wall for the outside of the SkyTrain. So that's neat. It's something I've never really noticed from down here, because this is a throughway for cars where I'm at right now. I don't think I'm going to congest much traffic this time of night. Well, yeah, I've been kind of cutting through in the area in front of me and just to the right, and I noticed that right here on the right is where the cars come out when they're checking them out from Hertz, and then right there is the return ramp for Dollar and Thrifty, which I regularly work the return ramp. And then on my right now is the lot where people pick up rental cars for Dollar and Thrifty, which I regularly fill up. I'm kind of there. I didn't really do much of it tonight, but quite often I'll go over there to check their maintenance line, and if I've walked that far, I've walked to pretty much the farthest thing away from me. So if they have nothing for me for maintenance, I've already passed everything else, and I've come this far. I'm not turning around and going back on foot. So what I end up doing is just doing some of their up downs. That gives me an opportunity to get down, check out their lot, which is the farthest thing away from where I clock in, and then and kind of help them out, because a lot of times the regular up down crew kind of forgets them. But yeah, the lanes on my right are where the Dollar Thrifty pay area is, the checkout is. But I had no idea there was a way that if you went up that ramp that you could actually drive through it just the way I did and come out the other side without actually doing anything like I just did. I just noticed that last night, walking kind of through the back area there as a shortcut to get over to, actually I think I had turned in, memory serves, I had put a car out to rent for Dollar way in the far back area, because Dollar's lot was full, which is an unusual thing. Usually Dollar doesn't have enough cars, but yeah, it was full, and it was a car that really wouldn't have made sense to bounce over to Hertz, and Hertz had plenty of cars at the same time. So yeah, walking from there, I saw that there was space behind the far escalators, and I was like, I wonder what happens if I walk along there. Is there a way to cut behind the checkout booths for Hertz? And there was, and that's when I noticed that ramp going through like I just drove it. So. And did I need to go there? Oh, hell no. I just thought it would make for some fun vlog footage, and it would be something interesting to drive. So. I'm on the piece of Sky Harbor Way right now, formerly known as Mojave Drive. I remember when I was a little kid, my dad would bring me to the Air National Guard base that he worked at, which is just ahead of me and to the right. He used to like to take Mojave to 24th Street. Now, this is 24th Street I'm turning left on. At that time, that bit of Sky Harbor Circle used to be Mojave. That's where Mojave was. And where I just turned left on 24th is where 22nd Street used to be. And this whole area was just extreme ghetto. It was very residential, but very ghetto. And another 2 blocks down Mojave, and there was a traffic light at Mojave and 24th. And you turn right, go south on 24th, and turn left on this back road that nobody else really turned down, called Old Tower Road, which would take him to the military base. And all the memories of all that just come back to me when I drive through there, and I can just, in my mind, all right, I got a Waymo on my left that is absolutely empty, no driver, no passenger. Oh wait, I think there is a passenger in the back seat. I love the robo taxis; those are so fun. Yeah, I go through here, and I just in my head see images of what this area was like, and remember traveling through there in the mid 70s through the early 80s with my dad. It's just so strange being in this area all the time now, and it just being so completely different. So work today was good. As I said, first thing I did was go talk to Rob and gorgeous black woman who isn't his half sister. One of these days, I gotta figure out her name. Yeah, she was. Had a good conversation with them about who was there and that I could join them, and I said, well, the only one that would still be left was and also Anthony, night lead Anthony was part of that conversation too, which was pretty cool. In fact, come to think of it, I don't think Rob was there. I stand corrected. It was Anthony and the one gal who runs the desk, and I think she does the bulk of the scheduling and stuff. She was certainly the one she was the one who called me and hired me, so she might be actually the one to talk to about trying to flex my hours around working through the Wonolo app and making sure I have enough money to pay my bills. But because I really, really don't want to quit this job for a higher paying job. I love this job. But yeah, I kind of recanted the story with them about how the French guy, Emmanuel, had left me, and now I just refuse to ride with him in a shag. I'm more efficient on foot. And I mean, they agree because they know how efficient I'm foot. I'm probably set a new standard for maintenance driver, on job kind of driver on foot, because I do so much above and beyond just empty the maintenance lines and empty the gatekeeper. I keep on top of the electric vehicles. I do up downs. I move things in and out of the flip lane, and I'm always scanning all the lots, just looking for things that are off. Sometimes somebody will notice, like one I saw today when I was going through, and this was a game changer for me. It was kind of one of those epiphany kind of moments, like, wow, how come nobody told me about this kind of thing? But I saw, whenever I go through a bank of chargers, electric car chargers, I'm looking at all the indicators to see if anything needs done. If there's a blue light, checking the car that the cable's connected to that has a blue light to see if it's actually charged. Sometimes they stop charging and they're not done charging. I had that happen today with the Kia EV6. I have no idea why it stopped charging. It was, I don't know, I want to say it like 68% or so. So not like empty, but nowhere near the point of where we're going to put them out. Generally speaking, the EV6s we charge up to 90%, and I'm looking at it. I see absolutely no reason for it not to be charging. Now, every now and then we'll get an EV6 that is drivable and it's running, and I think I mentioned this a couple weeks ago, where it's driving and it's running, but it just will not take a charge. Now, in order for me to make that determination to the point where I'm comfortable to ride it on the window and take it down to a shop line, I need to charge it at try to charge it at more than one charger, because they can be finicky, especially the Kia EV6s. And I'm following that Waymo right now. Not like I was planning on following the Waymo, it's just sort of worked out that way. It's interesting that the Waymo robot driver would choose to go down air lane versus more popular thoroughfares. But I've been using air lane as a back road to come this direction for a long time, so it's pretty awesome. The AI driven Waymo driver has decided that's a good route. So anyway, as I was saying, the EV6s, I'm thinking it might be that problem, but I'm not ready to write that with my paint pen and take it to the maintenance here yet. So go robot. Well, the route is actually changing lanes where there's an additional lane to go around the slowly accelerating driver in the left lane. unpredictable, but actually a good traffic maneuver, because yeah, it wasn't the robot failing to go, it was the vehicle in front of him. Probably looking at his phone when the light changed and didn't notice the light changing. I see that happen a lot. And I'd be lying if I said I'd never done it myself. So, anyhow, see how the EV6 not charging. I don't see any obvious issue on the screen. So since it was a blue light, which indicates that it stopped charging, as opposed to a blinking red light, which would tell me that the charger overloaded or overheated, I go ahead and plug it back in. And same thing, it just stays on the blue light, and after a few seconds, quite a few seconds, I get the notice on the dashboard display on the Kia telling me that there was a problem initializing the charger. The charger unexpectedly stopped or whatever. And as I said, sometimes those are just finicky, and I'm not even sweating that. So at that point, I'm just moving it to another charger, and there were no other chargers in that charger bank, that being the main upstairs electric vehicle charger bank by the electric vehicle reserved area for Hertz. There's a whole section for that. It's a pretty good sized section. I had a great interaction with a Hertz customer. Kind of want to mention that too, in that area. Different incident. So it's the stuff like this, though. I mean, it might be pitifully boring to everybody listening to this, but this is the kind of stuff I really enjoy, and I enjoy about this job. It's interesting to me. Because I'm not solving super difficult problems, but I'm still kind of analyzing and solving problems. And at that point, I move it to, there's no more available chargers in that charger bank. So I go to the charger bank that's on the other side of the central elevators, which the Angry Elf calls that the ultimate chargers, which it's kind of near a car section at Hertz called Ultimate. On that note, I brought up a really nice Dodge Challenger up to Ultimate today. It's not very often that I grab a car that's like, oh, this car goes to Ultimate and take it up there. But when I see one sitting in the cars that are going up, I've kind of got in the habit of grabbing them, not because I get to drive the Ultimate cars, but because I realize that the bulk majority of the MLS drivers are not allowed to drive them, and I am. So I'm just getting it done. I'm getting the work done. I'm getting that vehicle up to where even if it doesn't get rented right away, at least it's on display and looking super fancy, like right by the office where the big signs are that say Hertz Ultimate. So anyway, it's kind of around the corner from there, but there's the chargers that the second bank of upstairs chargers that the Angry Elf likes to refer to as the ultimate chargers. And I did finally get some clarification on where Tracy had snapped up at me not to use one side, use the other, because I felt it was just very conflicted, like what I was being told and then what I was seeing being done. I mean, shit, I shot a vlog video where I showed that there were cars charging on both sides. So what was the fucking problem with me bringing a car up to charge on that side? What's the fucking deal? Well, basically what the deal is that the side that I put it on, that she snapped at me. Now, had she explained that and been like a nice, rational human being, I could have learned that from her instead of just deciding, you know what, fuck electrics tonight. The Elf Squad got it. The Angry Elf Squad got it. But yeah, that other row is basically, they try to keep those free for reserved cars and for special customer holds. And if that special customer is reserving a electric car, they'll have it charging there waiting for them to show up. So nobody ever explained that to me. I finally was discussing some stuff with one of the Hertz managers. He explained that to me. So Now I know. I still, maintain the vehicles that are over there and keep my eye on them. I mean, I had one today that I pulled off one of those Chargers. It was a Tesla Model Y, very bright red Tesla Model Y. And what I would have done with that car a week ago, 2 weeks ago, a week ago, is I would have made sure that it had its charger adapter, and I would have moved it to electric reserve. And it's a good thing I did. The fact that I saw it on that charger in that spot was enough to tell me that more likely than not, that was reserved for a specific customer. And it was. And I saw a manager later and mentioned it to him, and it's like, oh, well, just so you know, it's fully charged at 100%. And I went ahead and made sure that the adapter and everything is in the trunk. So he seemed kind of grateful. And he pointed out another vehicle that was just kind of taking up space. He said, well, if you're looking for something to take down, you can take that one. I'm like, cool, will do. So anyway, the EV6, pretty simple solution. Just took it to another one of the chargers over in the Ultimate charger bank, and first time I plugged it in, it gave me the same problem, and I was just about to write, that it wouldn't charge and take it down to maintenance. And I figured I'd give it one more try, just because I know they're kind of finicky. And on that try, it charged just fine. So I don't know why they're that finicky. I'm thinking it might have to do with the thing I was talking about. I don't know if I mentioned it yesterday or the day before, but something else that I recently learned about our electric chargers there at Hertz. How all the chargers that are on the same circuit from the building share their amperage. So it might be that if a level 2 charger falls below a certain amperage, it's just not enough to initiate the charging. And I don't know this for a fact. I'm just like trying to theorize, like what would cause it to behave like that. And I'm thinking maybe, just maybe, there needs to be a certain amount of amperage, and it just wasn't quite there to get the EV6 going. But then once it started charging, it was fine, and it had quite a ways to go. And I had almost all the chargers in use, which of course, since it's splitting up the amperage, it's making them take considerably longer. So yeah, it never finished. I didn't check the battery percentage when I left, but I'm sure it still has a couple hours to go. So didn't get done during my shift. But yeah, that was a fun thing to do. And the game changer was when I walked up. At one point, I noticed when I walked by a bank of chargers. Another thing I regularly look for is a car that is parked in one of the charging bays. There's a parking spot adjacent to a charger, but not plugged in. That needs plugged in. There are other MLS drivers that are not trained on how to do the electric vehicles, and that's how they're directed to leave them. They're just like, yeah, leave it there. Somebody who knows what to do with it will get it. Well, I'm somebody who knows what to do with it. I'm one of the main somebodies who knows what to do with it, especially on night shift. So yeah, I see a car at a charging bay but not plugged in. I'm not immediately just shoving a cord in it. I'm going and looking at it. I'm sitting down in it. I'm looking to see, what's the battery percentage on it. Every now and then, like, they're fully charged, and somebody unplugged it and didn't move it to a stall. I don't understand why. I don't know who does that. I'm assuming Hertz staff. I don't get it. I don't. Maybe they're hoping that some of the drivers that drive that aren't trained to mess with the chargers will see it and see it's 100% and put it away. I don't know. I really don't know. All I know is that when I see one that's not plugged in, I check it. If it's 80% or higher, I put it in a stall. Put it into the system so it's available to be rented, as long as it's got a slip in it. If it doesn't, it doesn't. That is what it is. I don't even stress about that anymore. Because I was putting cars in stalls just fine without issue before I even knew how to log them into the system. So And when things were really nice, and the angry elf was all about training me, and telling me and teaching me, I did ask him about that, like, well, why doesn't this have one? He goes, oh, if it doesn't have one, don't worry about it. I'm like, oh, okay. I've yet to get an explanation as to why sometimes clean cars that I get from the clean line don't have a slip and some do. I really don't know. If it's got one, I log it in. If it doesn't, I don't. Simple as that. And I don't stress about it either way. So, yeah, if I see that the battery percentage is less than 80, then I get the charging cycle. And one of the things I do in the charging cycle is I check the maximum levels, because a lot of people will kick them up to 100, but they're not supposed to go that high. Lately, I've been setting everything at 90%, except for the Teslas. I've been putting at 92. For a while, I was putting the Teslas all at 100, and the Angry Elf said it was okay to put it at 100, but I've noticed that a few of the Hertz managers that focus on the electric cars have been putting the Teslas at 90%, and I'm sure they're doing that intentionally. And I think there's a thing that pops up on the screen that says that 90% is what's optimized for, is what's recommended for optimal battery life. So, God knows we have enough dead Teslas around. No need to give any more an early death. So, I've been doing them at 92% instead of 90, which seems really odd and random. I've just noticed that when I put them at 90, and then I get in them, just driving them from the charger where they stopped at 90 to a stall often takes them down to 89. And I figure if somebody gets in it and sees 89, they're going to think, well, that's an odd number. But if they get in it and they see 90, at least on their way out, if they ask an employee, hey, how come it's at a 90 and not 100? As long as that person knows about electric vehicles, they'll be able to say, well, yeah, 90's your optimal charging. When you charge them past 90, it causes excessive battery wear. So, anyway, I should get inside. I mean, I could go on length about this. I really enjoy this, and I did have the guy that I ran into, and the customer that I had a great conversation with up in the electric reserved area. I saw him headed towards the chargers, and something that the Angry Elf had warned me about was that, because I was asking, because prior to me working in the electrics, I honestly thought that the customers went and got them from there, because they look the charging bays upstairs look just like customer stalls. They're even numbered like customer stalls. So I thought just electric vehicles went up and they just sat on a charger until somebody rented them, and then the person renting them unplugged them and drove off in them. I kind of thought that's how it worked. I thought wrong. Oh, yes, I thought so wrong. But he did say that, yeah, because they're up here and they're marked like stalls, that customers do that on occasion, especially customers who are familiar with electric vehicles, because they don't, to them, a charger isn't something they're not supposed to mess with. Especially if they own an electric vehicle at home, they're messing with chargers probably every day. So it's completely normal for them to just undo it and put it on the hook and get in the car and go. So anyway, I see the guy walking towards that, and I'm thinking he might be trying to do that. So I'm trying to kind of head him off the pass, but still be helpful to him. He seemed like a cool guy, and I can always pick out like a customer versus somebody that works up there, because a customer will usually be walking with luggage. So yeah, he's pushing a pretty good sized suitcase on wheels, and then he asked where a specific stall was. I think 799. I'm like, pretty sure that's right over there. And it was funny because he said what kind of car he was picking up, and it was like a gas powered car, and 799 is an electric reserved stall. Like, only electric vehicles are supposed to go there, and ones that are available to rent. It's not a charging bay stall. So anyway, I walked him over to it, and I was like, well, even if it was an empty parking spot. So I don't know who it was at Hertz customer service that gave him a rental for a reserved car that was in that parking spot. I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry to send you back there, dude, but there's no car here. And if the car that they're saying was here, it would be in the wrong space anyway. So it's possible that car is on the lot somewhere, but they moved it because it never belonged here. This is electric reserve. Anyway, so I started asking him, were you looking for an electric vehicle? And he said he was going to Yuma. So, and we had a pretty good conversation. Because one thing I see very often on YouTube comments, a lot of negativity towards electric cars about, oh, well, they're just stupid because you got to stop and wait for them to charge up on road trips. Yeah, they're not good for road trips. It's not the right vehicle for a road trip. You know, screwdrivers are really bad at drilling holes. Better to use a drill for that. But while you can put an attachment and use a electric drill as a screwdriver is generally a better tool for just putting in screws. And that's a terrible analogy, but electric vehicles, great for commuting, great for getting around town. The average person who drives an electric vehicle isn't going up to electric charging stations and wondering what to do for 2-3 hours while the vehicle charges. The average person in an electric vehicle has a charger at home. They go home. If I was driving a Leaf or a Bolt, I mean, I like to dream about owning a Polestar too, but let's get real. I'm probably never going to be able to afford one of those. But a Leaf, a Nissan Leaf, or a Chevy Bolt, or a Chevy Volt for that matter, all of those could potentially be within my price range. And if I was doing that, if I was driving one of those, for starters, I would be parking over where my Benz is. I wouldn't be parking clear the fuck over here. But yeah, I'd be running a charging cord out to it. I'd be plugging it in right now as I go inside. And when I get up in the morning, my car is charged. And that's the average electric vehicle owner's experience. They're not at charging stations charging it up. They very rarely use charging stations. They do all the driving they do in a day on a single charge. They go home, they plug it in. Just like the average person with their smartphone. They use their smartphone all day. They're not seeking out a charger all day long, except for weirdos like me. And then when they get home, they plug it in and they go to sleep. Same thing. People plug in their cars, go to sleep. So anyway, the guy I was talking to, that was looking for a gas-powered vehicle, install $799, that I saw headed towards chargers, and was trying to make sure that what he wasn't getting ready to do was unplug something and drive off with it. He told me he owns a Ford Mach-E, which is the electric Mustang, which is a very fancy car. I've heard really good things about them. Hertz doesn't have any, unfortunately, so I have no experience with them. But we had a great conversation about electric vehicles and the pros and cons of different stuff, and it was definitely one of the more interesting, if not most interesting, conversations I've ever had with a Hertz customer. So that was pretty neat. Anyway, I'm really going inside. Thanks for watching. Hope you found that interesting.